Instead of taking vaccines, many locals are turning to preachers to rid them of evil spirits, further hampering the efforts of health workers battling to stop the spread of the deadly illness. The World Health Organization today said the world is on an epidemiological knife edge, but the warnings are not being heeded by some who believe prayer is the answer. The pastor of one evangelical church died last Wednesday, several days after he prayed for an Ebola victim who went for him to help. Getty bushmeat often consists of monkeys and even apes. Some sick people believe that the Ebola epidemic comes from sorcery. Nurse Julie Labali, one of those on the front line of the outbreak, and works in a hospital in the city of Mandaka, said, some sick people believe that the Ebola epidemic comes from sorcery. They refuse to be treated and prefer to pray. Since the outbreak, the ninth in the DRC's history, which first emerged in the remote area of Bikoro on May 8, 51 cases of Ebola have been reported, with 29 deaths. 3 people were earlier today reported to have escaped hospital quarantine, with 2 later found to have died, and the third currently under observation by the World Health Organization (WHO). Mrs. Labali said one superstition prevalent in the city was the belief that Ebola began in Bikoro as a curse on those who ate stolen meat, referring to the bushmeat, consisting of African wild game including monkeys and even apes. Getty consumption of bushmeat is sometimes blamed for spreading the Ebola virus. Consumption of bushmeat has sometimes been blamed for spreading the Ebola virus. Blondine Mboyo, who lives in Mabandaka's district of Bonganjo, told AFP, a hunter put a curse on the village because his big game was stolen. Local vendor Nicole Batoa said, this curse is so powerful because it hits those who ate this meat. Having heard about the theft or having seen the stolen animal, another resident, Guy Angela, reported having heard officials say during radio broadcasts that this disease is incurable. It's because it's about witchcraft. The confusion is complicating the efforts of health officials to tackle the outbreak. GETTYA health official uses a thermometer to measure the temperature of air passengers in Mabandaka and Geneva on Tuesday. African health officials said they were preparing to send anthropologists into the DRC to help with an Ebola vaccination campaign in a bid to counter widespread superstition and misinformation. WHO's emergency response chief Peter Salama told ministers and diplomats in Geneva today, the next few weeks will really tell if this outbreak is going to expand to urban areas or if we are going to be able to keep it under control. We are on the epidemiological knife edge of this response. A prototype vaccine will first be given to frontline health workers and then to people who have been in contact with Ebola cases. John Nkingasong, head of Africa Centers for Disease Control, Africa CDC, told reporters, if we do not handle communication well, the vaccination program may suffer, so we are also assessing how in next 2 weeks or so to deploy anthropologists to support the vaccine efforts. In large parts of Africa, disease and death are often not looked on as natural phenomena. Zachary Bababazwi, a Congolese specialist in cultural history, said the attitude was often one of so many deaths is a sign of a curse and can only have been provoked by a bad spirit. Get at WHO's emergency response chief Peter Salama speaks in Geneva. Bababazwi said before the burgeoning popularity of evangelical churches in the country, many Congolese would go see the witch doctor or village healer for treatment. Widespread superstitions persist today, but since the 1980s, it has taken a different form, with some people preferring to visit a church or a pastor who claims to have healing powers. Bavin and Sam Putu, an elected official from Bikoro, said, to break the spread of Ebola, we have to convince villagers that the disease is not a curse.